What's up, everybody? Benji Bruce here, speaking lifestyle. Today we're going to talk about something really simple but complicated at the same time. I want to talk about how do you create your own email template. So if you're going to be contacting events, you're going to be either one, you got to pay for email templates, or two, you have to create your own. And so I want to talk about how do you create your own. If you can't pay for a program like Speak Pro Academy, well, you got to sit down, you got to write out all this stuff. I mean, not write it out, but type it out, and you're going to have to be creating your own email templates. And you got to make sure that they're really good email templates, because if you suck at cold emailing, cold calling, or whatever, if you suck at doing outreach, then you're going to keep wondering why it's not working. You're going to keep saying, oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing cold emailing. I'm cold calling. I'm contacting people, but it's not working. And so I'm going to show you how to actually create your own email templates to make sure they really do work. So let's kind of wait a few seconds to see who's hopping on. All right. I think we got about 20 billion people who just hopped on. We are good to go. What's up, Wani, Amani, Mike, Micah, Marlon, what's up, peeps? You finally joined the Speak Pro Academy. Yep, good to have you. What's up, Paul? Yes, let's get going here. So if you guys aren't a Speak Pro Academy member, I'm going to show you the process that you have to go through to create your own templates. It's a long process and it kind of sucks, but still, this is what you do if you can't afford to pay $2,000 for the Speak Pro Academy, $5,000 for the Speak Pro Academy. And here's the thing. So when I first started out, I didn't have anybody teach me a damn thing in terms of what to do. So what I had to do is I was cold emailing. At first I was cold calling, but I hated cold calling. So I switched to cold emailing. Now, in the beginning, I didn't know what worked or what didn't work. I didn't know anything about copywriting. I knew nothing about nothing. And so what I was doing is I was just sending out emails, and my pitches, they were really, really bad back in the day. I mean, it was really, really bad. I thought it was a bomb. I'm sitting there writing stuff. I'm like, damn, how can I not hire this guy? Like, damn, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I was doing with that was my mindset when I was sending out the emails. And I didn't get a lot of responses. The only reason I got hired is because of the number of emails that I sent out. It's like the spammers, the email spammers where they say like, I'm going to help you with SEO and all that. And it's a horribly written email. But if they send enough out, somebody's going to respond. That's kind of how I was in the beginning. Like my emails were really, really, really bad. But because I sent so many, somebody responded and I got booked. Now, eventually, what happened is one of two things. If you're like me, I had to make it work because I did not have a job, so I couldn't fall back on anything. Most people, they don't have to make it work, meaning they've got a job or something like that. They don't have to make it work. So with most people, they'll send out a ton of emails. If they don't get responses, they'll just give up because they're like, it doesn't work. And so this is why you have to get really, really good at cold emailing or cold calling, whatever outreach method you're using. You have to get really good at it. And here's how you create the templates that you're going to be creating. So first off, understand in terms of templates, when people say things like, they usually say this about cold calling. They say, I don't really need a script. What? A script? I'm not going to stick to a script, because if you stick to a script, then you sound like a robot and all that. And I say, you obviously are not a top salesperson. There isn't a single top salesperson who doesn't have a script. That's just a simple fact. And even if they don't have a written script, they follow a series of steps inside of their brain. And so you have to make sure that the purpose of a script or a template is simply to replace your thinking. That way you can actually kind of see from the outside perspective. So if you aren't using a script or a template, you are so focused on the actual words that you're saying that you don't pay attention to anything else. On the other hand, if you have a script or a template, then you can focus on other things. You can think about other things. Your thinking just kind of steps above the situation. And so you have to have templates. You have to have a script. Just make sure you do that no matter what. A script in general, a script or a template, it just keeps you on track. That way you don't lose the sale. And this is why I keep telling a lot of Speak Pro Academy members in terms of the pipeline. I keep coming back to telling Speak Pro Academy members, stick to the pipeline. Always stick to the pipeline. Because what happens is people get off the pipeline and then they end up losing the sale because they talk about things that don't close a sale. They talk about things that they think they're building rapport, but in reality, they're just getting off topic. Imagine if you're talking with somebody, let's say you're talking about, you're talking about water bottles. You're like, yeah, this mammoth water, it's amazing and all that. And yeah, I mean, they got from enhanced minerals with great taste. You're sitting there, you're talking about this stuff. You're going back and forth with this conversation. Then next thing you know, the person starts talking about iPads, and you're like, what? Huh? Like it's just completely off topic. And you're thinking like, what? And so is very similar in terms of people who don't have a script or an email template. They get off topic and then people think like, huh, what? And then they just get distracted and then the sale doesn't close. So you got to make sure that you guys have templates. The reason that the templates, it just helps you in terms of your level of think. It's very similar to mastery in anything. If you look at, let's say, a chess grandmaster, they play chess so many times that they see moves ahead of everybody else just because they've done it a million times. They've seen your move a million times. So they think, well, I've seen your move a million times, so I actually know what to do with that. And then I know how you're going to respond. Then I'm going to do this. They see all that in their heads. And so that's what templates do for you. When you have templates, you've seen every possible response. You say, hey, who hires speakers? It doesn't matter how they respond. You've seen the response. They can say, we don't hire speakers. We don't pay speakers. We're a nonprofit. We don't have a big budget. Every single response that they have, you've seen it a million times before. So you know how to respond. You know what response is going to get the best response out of them. You are basically a chess grandmaster when you put these email templates in place. So it's really, really important that you don't just sit down and you don't just say, let me just write down whatever the hell I want. Let me send it out. And then let's just see what happens. You don't do that. You got to make sure that you're building these email templates so that way you're basically becoming a chess grandmaster and you're not some amateur just like most of the speakers are. And so understand. So here I put story learning jujitsu. So there's actually a guy here in the high rise. He's a blue belt in jujitsu, and so I started learning some jujitsu with him. And it was really, really interesting when he showed me some stuff because jujitsu it's invisible. It's like an invisible form of fighting. It looks like two guys are just wrestling each other on the ground. And before you know it, your ass is just on your back and you're getting your ass whooped. And you have no idea why. You're just like, what the hell just happened? That's what jujitsu is. Like the guy who knows jujitsu versus the person who doesn't. The guy who knows jujitsu, they can just whoop you. You won't even know what just happened. You will think that you lost because maybe he's somewhat of a better fighter than you. Well, I mean, technically he is, but you'll think you lost maybe because he's stronger than you or something, but really you lost because you didn't know what you were doing. And the same goes with cold emailing and cold email, cold calling. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be wondering, why is this not working? And that's why I keep saying to people, especially Speak Pro Academy members, post your conversations in the group because you don't see what you're doing wrong. It's invisible to you. I see it, but you don't. And so it's really, really important that you turn the invisible into the visible. So let's kind of get into this in terms of how do you actually create your own email templates. By the way, if you have any questions, make sure you ask the questions now because I'm going to come back later. And if I don't see any questions here, then I'll just say we're done and we're good to go. So make sure you ask questions now and then I'll come back later for them. So obviously, first things first, in terms of email templates, you either create them or you buy them. So in terms of buying them, I guess this is like any piece of advice. It's really, really hard to know, is the email template good or not? Because anyone can simply create an email template. I mean, everybody watching this can sit down and say, let me just create some email templates. Let me go sell that to speakers. Okay, there we go. They can be horrible ass email templates, but anyone can just create them. So it is kind of hard to know in terms of whether you're buying them, is it legit or not. But you're either buying them or you're creating them. And I'm going to show you how to create them. If you buy them, you just join the Speak Pro Academy and poof, you have good email templates. But I'm going to show you how to create them. So remember, there are predictable responses to everything. Everyone responds in a predictable way. And the first time I really, really learned this was when I was doing restaurant magic. So I was walking table to table, performing magic for people, or more mentalism. So I'm like performing more mentalism, mind reading stuff. And I noticed when I would walk up to a table and I would say like, hey, yeah, I'm the entertainer here. I do mentalism. Would you like to see a trick? Would you like to see a demonstration? They'd be like, sure, why not? Or they'd be like, no, we're good, thank you, and all that. And then all of a sudden I would go up and I would say, hey, I'm Benji, I'm the mentalist. Would you like to see a miracle? And I changed the word trick to miracle. That's the only difference. And then people were like, miracle, huh? Yeah, show me. Yeah, I want to see a miracle. And that's what happened damn near every single time. And it was just because I looked at how people reacted to what I was doing, so I was able to shift what I was doing to create a different type of reaction. You have to understand that people always have similar reactions in similar situations. It's like, once again, with the restaurant thing, I go up to people, they'd be like, can you make my check disappear? And it was always a similar type of reaction. Same goes with any type of sales. People always have similar reactions. You use those reactions to create email templates with those. That's what you're ultimately doing. In the beginning, it is trial and error. Like if you can't buy them, then it's trial and error in the beginning. And so this is where you have to speed up the process of failing so you can actually learn what works. So you either do more or you learn more, or well, really you do both. You do more and you learn more. And so in the beginning, you're just doing a lot. You're just like, well, I think this will work. Let me just type something out. And then that's what you do. You're just, well, I think this will work. But at the same time, you're learning copywriting. You're learning how to actually sell. So while you're learning, you're sitting there and you type something out that's dumb as all hell to begin with, but you're learning copywriting, and then you look back on what you did and you say, oh, okay, the copywriters, they say to do this. Oh, I can see where I jacked up at. And so that's what's happening. You're doing a lot and you're learning at the same time. You're combining those two. That's how you're going to get better in general. That's what you're doing with your cold emails, your outreach. So what you have to do is you have to figure out, how do you get feedback? That's the biggest thing. If you're not getting feedback, you don't know what to change. You don't really know, like, is it working? Is it not working? You have to figure out, what am I going to do to actually get feedback? This is why I keep telling speakers, you don't want to just have a CRM. You want to have an email tracking software like Mailshake, Yesware, Streak. There's like a million different email tracking softwares out there, but you have to have one of these in order to know what to improve. Because if you don't know what to improve, you're just going to keep typing stuff out, wondering why it's not working, especially if you're doing it by yourself. If you're a Speak Pro Academy member, you have more leeway on not using something like Mailshake or Yesware or Streak, because all you got to do is post inside the group and be like, Benji, why is it not working? And then I'll tell you exactly why it's not working. But if you don't have me, if you don't have someone doing that with you, you have to use email tracking software, because it will literally tell you, hey, fix this, fix that, fix this, fix that. So if you are doing phone calls, you have to use phone systems like Phoneburner or Freshcaller. You got to use systems like that in terms of, it actually keeps track of numbers, so you can see, once again, what do I fix, what do I not fix. You're recording phone calls. That way you can kind of listen to how you actually speak, like the tonality, all that sort of stuff in terms of the phone calls. You record it. Whatever you think is happening inside of your brain, that's almost not what's actually happening. That's why you have to actually record conversations. You have to get the feedback, because you're basically diluting yourself. Whenever you are doing phone calls, cold emails, you're diluting yourself. And that's why you have to get that feedback, so you don't delude yourself. You see the reality of a situation. So just remember, in terms of that whole saying of what gets measured gets improved. And if you're not measuring something, you don't know what to improve. You're just sitting there, you're like, why is this not working? Because you don't know what to improve. You don't know what part is not working. And so just keep that in mind. You have to review with someone who can see the problem. This is what I mentioned, like in terms of JuJitsu. JuJitsu is invisible. I'm telling you, if you know nothing about JuJitsu, go watch that thing. Go watch a real fight. The JuJitsu person always wins. JuJitsu, it looks like two people are just wrestling each other on the ground, but it's invisible. You don't know why this person whooped your ass. You're just like, what just happened? And the same goes with you learning anything. You need someone who can help you see the problem. Because I've seen this so many times with speakers, or not just speakers, just people in general with sales. They say, I'm doing cold emailing, but it doesn't work. And it's like, no, you're doing cold emailing and you suck. That's why it doesn't work. And no one inserts the you suck part. There's, I'm doing cold emailing and it doesn't work. No, you're doing cold emailing and you suck. That's why it doesn't work. You don't see the you suck part. You don't see what you're doing wrong. You need someone who can actually help you see that. That's why everyone keeps saying mentors and all that sort of stuff, just in general. So, and this is why, like, when you are cold emailing, you're doing the split testing and everything. This is why you use email tracking software. You're simply saying, I'm going to send an email like this. Here's my first email that I'm thinking about, maybe a long 5-paragraph email. Then I'm going to send another email like this where it's only 2-3 sentences, and let's just see which one works. And that's what you're doing in the beginning. You're just like, see what works. And that's really going to help you in general. So here's kind of the steps that you're going to take to create your own email templates that actually work. In the beginning, you have all this knowledge in your head. You probably studied some business stuff. You have all this knowledge in your head. You sit down and you use that knowledge to create an email template. You sit down and say, all right, let me, in fact, no, don't even do that. Here's what you do. Sit down and actually contact an event. Don't sit down and write an email template to begin with. Sit down, actually contact an event and say, what am I going to say when I'm contacting them? And actually write an email. Save that email. Use that email as a template, as your template. Just save that email somewhere in Google Docs, wherever you want to save it. Save that email. But sit down and actually contact an event. Write out whatever you think is good. Write it out and send the email. Just freaking send it. At this point, you're going to use your email tracking software, whether it's Mailshake, Yesware, Streak, whatever other million ones are out there. Use the email tracking software. You send it out and you look to see what's happening. At this moment, you pay close attention. Did they open the email? If they did not open the email, what does that tell you? It tells you your subject line sucks. It says, whatever I wrote in the subject line, it sucks because they didn't open the email. On the other hand, if you say, okay, they opened the email, but they didn't click. So they opened the email, but they didn't click on the link to your website. What does that tell you? It tells you that whatever you wrote in the email sucks. So you need to get better at writing whatever the hell you just wrote in the email. And so on the other hand, if they opened the email, they clicked, but they didn't reply, like they clicked to your website, but they didn't reply back. They didn't say, yeah, we want to bring you in, or what do you charge? They didn't reply back. What does that tell you? It tells you you need to improve your website because they opened the email, they clicked on a link to your website, but after they saw your website, they're like, damn, this person's a scrub. I am absolutely not going to talk to this person. This person sucks. And so what that tells you is once they click on the link to your website, but they didn't respond, they're basically saying your website needs to get better. Like you're not worth actually even responding to. So if that's what the email tracking software is telling you. And then on top of that, you're also looking to see how many did you actually send. So if you only sent one email, like let's say you send one email and the person didn't open it, what does that tell you? It tells you nothing. Like you get zero information. If the person opened it, even if they open it and they clicked and they didn't respond, what does that tell you? It tells you nothing because you only sent one email out. For all you know, they could have opened it, they could have clicked on it and then who knows? I mean, maybe Gmail accidentally deleted the email. Like it's not enough information to really give you the reality of what's going on. Like imagine any survey. If someone said, we did a survey and we found that 68% of men love it when women stand on their heads. And then all of a sudden, like when you say, okay, well, that's interesting. Well, how many people did they survey? And they say, well, 4 people. What? You only surveyed 4 people? What? And so you would instantly discount everything that they just came up with, their findings. You would discount it. Same goes with you sending out emails. If you're not sending enough, then every piece of information that you get doesn't make sense. It's not legit data. So you have to make sure you're sending enough emails to actually get legit data. So that's what you're really doing. Then at the same time, you're sitting there, you're thinking the follow-up templates. So sending that first email doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. You got to make sure you're following up the right way. So at this point, you're saying, okay, when they say this, they say no, they say we only hire certain speakers or we only hire industry-related speakers or we're a nonprofit. When they say this, you do what? You say what? And that's what you're thinking with your follow-up templates as well. So you're not just creating one template in terms of you pitching. You say when they respond to that template, what did they say? All right, let me copy and paste what they just said, and then let me write out my response to that. And now the next person who says that, I'm going to once again test these responses. And that's what you're really doing in the long term. And so understand that your knowledge allows you to skip steps. This is why I keep saying you don't just do more, you have to learn more. So in the beginning, you don't really know what's really working, what email templates work, how you should say what you should say. You don't know any of that stuff. On the other hand, if I were to take a brilliant copywriter, like some top-notch copywriter, and I were to say to the copywriter, hey, I need you to write some email templates to get me hired as a speaker, I guarantee that copywriter would probably create bomb-ass email templates because they're already starting up here. Their knowledge is already up here, whereas most people, they're starting way down here. So this is why you learn more as you go. You study copywriting, you just learn more. So that way you kind of just start skipping steps. You don't have to go from, oh, my email just sucks to, okay, it's a little bit better. Okay, it's a little bit better. You can go from my email sucks to, yeah, that's a bomb ass email. Now, holy crap, my email is doing really good. Like you can just skip steps based on your knowledge. And this is why everyone keeps telling you like mentors, because mentors just help you skip steps. And that's what mentors really do. And it's one of the things in terms of if you look at chess grandmasters and you look at the computers that chess grandmasters go against, here's a difference between what a chess grandmaster does in their head and what a computer does in their system. So a computer, they compute all the possible moves that they can make in the chess game. So the computer sees a chessboard. They say, okay, I can move the pawn up, and if I move the pawn up, then this does this. If I can move the bishop up, this is it. It computes all this stuff in their head. What a chess grandmaster does, they can't do that. A chess grandmaster can't compute every possible move. It's not possible. But what a chess grandmaster does is he skips steps. So a chess grandmaster, they immediately recognize, oh, this move here is dumb. There's no way in hell I'm going to do that. This would, like, they instantly see the dumb moves, so they skip over the dumb moves, and then they just go on to the best moves. And that's why chess grandmasters can keep up and even beat computers, because they're not trying to compute everything. They're simply ignoring all the 98% of the sucky moves, and they're only paying attention to the 2% of the great moves. That's the difference. And that's how you need to operate in terms of creating your email templates. That's why you need to learn more and just do more, learn more, because you can skip steps by doing that. Okay, so ultimately, what you're really thinking in terms of building your own email templates, and you keep saying to yourself, "What happens if?" That's kind of what you're doing. So it's like, what happens if I send a 2-sentence pitch? What happens if I send it just 2 sentences of a pitch? What happens if I say this? What happens if they don't respond back? What happens? Like, you're kind of saying, like, well, what do I do if, or what happens if? It's almost like you're playing the what if game, but at the same time, you're playing the what if game by actually playing it. Like, there's a difference between playing the what if game in your head and playing the what if game in reality. In reality, you're doing something and you're saying, well, what if I just send an email like this? So you're actually doing something. You're not sitting down and thinking about it. You're not sitting down like, what would happen if I sent an email like 2 sentences? I mean, they probably wouldn't like it. And then if I do this, like, you're not living in reality. You're living in your head. So you live in reality. You say, what happens if I just send an email like this? What happens if I call them? Like, instead of sending an email, if they don't respond, what happens if I just call them? I wonder. And then you just call them. You're just like, hey, you dummy. I noticed you didn't respond to my email. What's wrong with you? And you're like, what happens? Will they get offended if I say that? So that's kind of what you're doing ultimately in terms of building your own email templates. It's just a matter of how fast do you want this to actually happen? Like, how fast do you want success to happen? You can do it yourself. It's just going to take you a really, really long time because, once again, you're figuring it out. On the other hand, when you have someone there to help you, they just skip steps for you. They're just like, no, don't do all that. It's similar to, actually, yeah, perfect example. The chess grandmaster in the computer. If you're doing it yourself, you're like the computer. You're just like, you don't know what moves you're making. You're just making every single move, even the bad moves. You're making 98% of what you're doing is bad. You're just making a ton of bad moves. The chess grandmaster is just saying, no, let's just completely ignore the 98% of this stuff. Here's what we're going to focus on, the 2% right here. And that's the difference between you working by yourself and you working with someone else who knows what they're doing. This is why I keep telling people, like, you don't get how long it's going to take you if you do this by yourself and you're not a Speak Pro Academy member. I'm like, you don't really understand what's about to happen to you. If you're not persistent as all hell and you don't have like money in your bank account to kind of ease you over in terms of just your finances, then you're going to give up. It's inevitable. And so this is why I keep telling people, join the Speak Pro Academy. You have to get really, really analytical in terms of just building a business in general. Get really, really analytical. You say, if I do A, then they do B. Like what happens? If A, they do what? That's what you're really doing. You're like a scientist, and that's all you're doing. If I say this, they do this. Okay. And then once you realize there's a pattern there, then you understand how to respond. You're like, okay, if I say this, they do this, then I say this, what do they do now? And that's ultimately what you're doing with all your email templates. And then what you're doing with your business, you're just thinking systems in your business. You just got to keep thinking about systems. You just keep thinking in terms of like, if I do X, Y happens. And by doing that, you no longer have to think much. You no longer have to think about this thing. You free up your mental space to think about other things. And that's how systems work. So it's like pilots on a plane. Pilots have a checklist for everything. I mean, they get in the cockpit. I mean, you could probably be like a newbie, like literally someone who doesn't know about flying planes. They can just look at the checklist. They can probably follow the checklist and fly a damn plane. They'd be like, all right, look, okay, Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Wow. We're up in the air. Holy shit. And so it's similar to that. You're creating these systems in terms of the systems take the thinking away so you can start thinking about other things that further you for your goals, that move you towards the real goals that you want to do. So that's really what you're doing in terms of building your own email template. So let's see if there were any questions. If there are any questions, then I'll answer. If not, we are good to go for today. And by the way, remember guys, join the Speak Pro Academy if you're not a member, speakproacademy.com. Until April 30th, it is, instead of $5,000 lifetime, it is only $2,000 for the lifetime access. So let's see. Marlon said the email templates on the Academy are great. What do you focus on when customizing? Well, so this is the hardest thing to really, really teach, because when you're customizing, that's a great question, by the way. When you're customizing, you have to focus insanely on them. Everyone thinks they're focusing on the other person, but they're really not. You have to focus so much on them. You have to keep saying, what do they want? What do they want? What do they want? What do they pay for? What do they pay for? What do they pay for? You got to keep saying that, like keep thinking that way. And that's just going to help you customize everything. Cause otherwise what you're going to do is you're going to say, here's what I'm selling. You're like, I'm selling a motivational speech. I'm selling this. Here's my topic. Here's what I want to talk about. That's what speakers do. Instead of saying, what do they want? What do they want? What do they want? What do they pay for? What do they pay for? What did they pay for? And so you have to keep thinking that way. Then you say, okay, well, what they paid for in the past was this. What they're really posting on their site is this. So that's what you're doing in terms of customization. There is no template for customization. In terms of like customizing, or in terms of like your pitch, it's more of like not a theoretical thing. It's more just a mindset thing with your pitch. What you're ultimately remembering is you're thinking, what can I say that's going to create enough curiosity to get them to click on the link to the website? That's what you're really thinking about in terms of like when you pitch. And the customization, the purpose of the customization is just to get people to realize that it's not a spam email. So if I were to say, hey, Marlon, I can't remember your wife's name. I think it was Tina or something. And I say like, hey, Marlon, I was talking with Tina on Instagram, and whatever I say after that, doesn't really matter what I say after that. I can literally copy and paste something, but it doesn't matter what I say after that. Marlon's going to instantly realize, oh, okay, this dude is a real person. Like he's talking with my wife Tina on Instagram, right? Cause he just mentioned her name and all. So he would instantly know that it's not a copy and paste template just because I customize just freaking a few words. And that's what you're really doing. This is why I like Tim Ferriss's his email template. Like Tim Ferriss, he mentioned that in the beginning, you want to, his thing was you want to compliment them. And he was talking about more of like contacting gurus. Like when you contact a guru to interview them or something, when you contact a guru, you don't just talk about you, which is what most people do. When you talk about a guru, when you try to contact a guru, you basically compliment them. You're like, Benji, I just watched your Facebook Live today on creating email templates. I loved what you said about being very analytical. If they do A, then you do B. And instantly I would know, okay, this person didn't just copy and paste some dumb crap. Instantly I would read the rest. That's what you do with customization. You think, what can I say in that first sentence or two that would make them realize I am a real person and I did pay attention to them? That's what you're really thinking in terms of customization. So let's see, are cold emails considered spam? Nope. So you said, what if they opened but didn't click? Well, if you mean in terms of the problem? So, I mean, if they open but they didn't click on the link to your website, what that says is whatever you wrote in the email wasn't good enough. So whatever you wrote in the email, it didn't create any curiosity to get them to click. That's what it really says. So it says improve whatever you need to improve your actual pitch. That's what it's really saying. If they open but they didn't click. Okay. So yeah, in terms of cold emails, spam, it's just not. It's just not. There's nothing else to say on that one. It's kind of like the only people who think cold emails are spam are just people who aren't cold emailing. If cold emails were considered spam, it would obliterate freaking damn near everyone's business. It's similar to like cold calling and things like that. If you weren't allowed to cold call or cold email, so many businesses would be out of business. I mean, every business, like damn near every business, every $1 billion business, cold calls, cold emails, people just don't see it. Like that's a problem. That's why everyone thinks it's spam, because they confuse newsletters with cold emailing. Newsletters and cold emailing are two completely different things. And so cold email is not spam at all. It's almost like someone saying, hey, is messaging someone on Instagram spam? No, not if you're like actually just messaging someone. It can be turned into spam like what some of these dummies on Instagram are doing. They're copying and pasting stuff and you can easily recognize it's just some stupid spam that they sent you. So it can be turned into spam, but it is not spam. And so, yeah, just understand like outreach is not spam. So you said, when first emailing, I just ask who hires and get no response. So Zippor, are you a Speak Pro member? If you're a member, make sure you post inside the group in terms of what it is you're saying, and make sure you literally copy and paste. In fact, don't copy and paste. Send me a damn screenshot, because here's what people tend to do with Speak Pro Academy. People change my email templates. They change everything. They send it out. Then they realize it doesn't work. And then they go back into the group and say, Benji, I'm doing what you said to do, but it's not working. And so I'm like, I don't know why it's not working, because it works. And I don't know that they changed it. Then when they show me what they actually did, then I say, oh, well, that's why it doesn't work. You changed it. And so that's what I'm talking about. In fact, like the other day I mentioned how a Speak Pro Academy member, the person almost got sued because she changed the email templates, and what she said was actually, it was really misleading. When I read it, I was like, oh damn, like I could see why they got pissed off. If she would have posted that in the group, like if she would have said, Benji, here's what I'm sending out, what do you think? I'd be like, oh hell no, don't do that. Like absolutely not, don't do that. But I didn't know that she was doing that. And that's why the whole thing happened in terms of she almost got sued. So that's why I keep telling speakers, like, actually post what you're really doing and really saying in the group. Don't tell me you're really doing it when you're really not doing it. Like that's the thing. It's, yeah. And just keep that. So you said I'm working up to the purchase. Yeah. See if you can get the purchase like by the end of this month, because like I said, Speak Pro Academy lifetime access is $2,000 instead of $5,000. So if you do anything after the 30th, then it's going to be $2,000 per year for you, or $5,000 lifetime. But yeah, in terms of the who hires, you just gotta, here's the thing, always think from their perspective. You can solve damn near all your problems by thinking from their perspective. What everyone does is they keep thinking from their own perspective. They're like, all right, let me figure out, what am I selling? What do I want to sell them? And that's why everyone fails so much, because they think too much from their own perspective. And then on top of that, they hear something like this. They hear me saying this. They're like, yeah, I should think from their perspective. Let me do that. So my speaking topic is this, and once again, they go back to thinking from their perspective. It's really, really hard to think from another person's perspective. So you have to truly, truly, truly think from their perspective and really focus on them. This is why I keep telling speakers, stop reading and stop joining these speaker associations. Start reading and joining meeting planner associations. You want to get inside the mind of meeting planners, not other speakers. Other speakers don't know what the hell they're doing. Other speakers think they know. They don't know a damn thing. You want to see what are real meeting planners talking about. How do they really describe speakers? What are they really looking for? And the only way you can do that is by actually paying attention to the people who actually hire you. And that's like what you're really trying to do with cold email, with sales in general. You truly have to shut off that inner dialogue, and you have to like truly see from their perspective. Easier said than done, but hey, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it, right? Said, from a mindset shift, how do you make the shift from mentalist to a motivational speaker? Well, I made the shift because I was like, it was pure money wise. Like, that was literally my reason. Cause I was thinking, here's the thing. I got so good at cold emailing, so good at getting the gigs, I got bored. And my only thing wasn't how do I get hired. I just got to a point where I was like, now all I need to focus on is just how do I charge more. So it was a mentalist. I was able to get up to like $10,000 for a presentation. But then I was thinking like, okay, I can get hired. The cold email process is easy at this point. Now it's just a matter of how do I charge more? And I sat down and I thought about it. I said, it's just a matter of positioning. The people who make more, it's not about what they do. It's about who they are. And when I would call myself a magician, people were like, here, do kid magic. Here at our kids party. And I'm like, I don't mess around with kids. Get them away from me. Stupid little things. Get away from me. And so then all of a sudden I started calling myself an illusionist, and people no longer said, here, do our kid parties. Then I called myself a mentalist. And then eventually I said, okay, once again, I changed the title. I said, well, who gets paid more than mentalists? I mean, a keynote speaker, motivational speakers, their value is inherent. So that's why I started just calling myself a motivational speaker. And then bam, I just instantly increased my prices. Just literally, it was instant. And so it was purely a strategic standpoint in terms of how do I charge more. And that's when I went from mentalist to motivational speaker. All right. So we are good to go for today. Let's see. Yep. Got the questions answered. And so we are good to go for today. I will see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And once again, guys, remember speakproacademy.com if you want to actually join the program, if you want my help in terms of getting on stages and just marketing yourself in general. If you guys want to actually know when I'm doing the Facebook Lives, go to speakinglifestyle.com, sign up to the newsletter. You'll obviously get the emails in terms of here's when I'm doing the Facebook Lives and here's all the other cool stuff that you need help with. So, all right, I will see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Take care, everybody.